the Brazilian Navy's remaining Type 22 frigate, the former Royal Navy HMS Battle Axe, now operating as Frigata Rademacher, sits at the intersection of two distinct eras. One era relied on acquiring capable second-hand European hulls to bridge capability gaps and professionalize complex fleet operations. The other era reflects Brazil's ambition to rebuild a modern surface combatant force with a stronger domestic industrial foundation, aligned with the realities of the Blue Amazon, the South Atlantic, and a maritime environment where sensors, networks, and sustainment matter as much as headline weapons. The fact that only one Type 22 remains in active Brazilian service is not an accident. It is the result of deliberate strategic logic. That logic became visible when Greenhalgh, the former HMS Broadsword, was removed from service and later sunk during a live-fire exercise in September 2024. This event did more than close the operational life of a single ship. It marked the end of an entire phase in Brazilian naval development. Brazil was not merely allowing time to retire old platforms. It was actively reshaping its fleet structure by removing legacy hulls that no longer aligned with future operational needs. When Brazil first acquired the Type 22 frigates in the 1990s, the value extended far beyond the steel and machinery. These ships introduced operational standards, anti-submarine warfare culture, and fleet integration practices that significantly elevated the Brazilian Navy's professionalism. The ships served as floating classrooms, teaching crews how to manage complex sensors, propulsion systems, and coordinated surface operations across vast maritime spaces. For a Navy tasked with safeguarding one of the world's largest exclusive economic zones, this institutional learning was invaluable. However, no amount of professionalism can fully offset the realities of aging platforms. Over time, the Type 22s faced increasing sustainment challenges: aging propulsion systems, legacy electrical infrastructure, and growing difficulty integrating modern sensors and defensive systems. As each ship aged, maintenance demands increased and operational availability declined. This reality explains why Brazil steadily reduced its Type 22 inventory rather than attempting to prolong the service life of the entire class. Rademacher's continued service illustrates both the utility and the limits of this approach. As the last remaining Type 22, it still provides meaningful contributions to naval operations. It supports training cycles, maintains seamanship and command experience, and enables the Navy to preserve a baseline surface escort capability during a transitional period. Yet its age also exposes the risks inherent in operating legacy warships, including higher probabilities of technical incidents and unplanned maintenance interruptions. Keeping only one such ship is therefore a calculated risk management decision. One hull allows Brazil to retain essential skills and operational continuity without absorbing the disproportionate costs associated with sustaining multiple aging frigates. Retaining several legacy ships would have tied up personnel, maintenance capacity, and funding that are better invested in the next generation of surface combatants. The broader context for this decision is Brazil's transition toward the Tamandare-class frigates. The launch of the first ship in 2024 and the progression toward sea trials in 2025 marked a turning point. At that moment, Brazil moved from conceptual modernization to tangible fleet renewal. Sea trials represent more than technical milestones. They signal the beginning of institutional absorption, where training pipelines, logistics chains, and operational doctrines start to realign around the new platform. This transition period is precisely when a single legacy ship retains value. Rademacher functions as a bridge, maintaining operational tempo while the Tamandare class matures. It helps prevent a capability gap in surface warfare while new ships are tested, commissioned, and integrated. At the same time, The removal of other Type 22s ensures that the Navy is not overextended by sustaining platforms that no longer offer proportional returns on investment. The sinking of Greenhalgh symbolized a clean break from the past. Rather than keeping retired hulls in limbo, Brazil chose to close the chapter decisively. This approach sends a clear message. The future of Brazilian sea power will not be built on indefinite extensions of legacy platforms, but on modern, adaptable ships supported by a resilient industrial ecosystem. The Tamandare program reflects this philosophy. Beyond replacing old frigates, it strengthens domestic shipbuilding capacity, enhances systems integration expertise, and reduces long-term dependence on foreign sustainment chains. A modern frigate program is not merely about acquiring new ships. It is about cultivating the industrial and human capital required to maintain and upgrade those ships throughout their service lives. Strategically, this matters most in the South Atlantic. Brazil's maritime challenges are persistent and multidimensional. They include protecting offshore energy infrastructure, enforcing sovereignty across vast maritime zones, supporting international maritime security efforts, and maintaining credible presence in an increasingly competitive global maritime environment. Modern frigates designed for multi-mission operations provide flexibility that older hulls cannot easily replicate. Looking toward the 2030 to 2035 timeframe, Brazil's naval posture is taking shape around several core principles. First, sea control and maritime awareness in the Blue Amazon remain foundational priorities. Second, fleet commonality and sustainment efficiency are becoming central considerations, reducing logistical complexity and improving readiness. Third, industrial autonomy is emerging as a strategic asset, enabling Brazil to adapt its fleet to evolving threats without excessive external dependence. Within this framework, Rademaker's role is transitional rather than permanent. It preserves continuity while Brazil shifts its center of gravity toward the Tamandare class and future platforms. Its presence should be understood not as reluctance to modernize, but as disciplined force management during a critical transformation phase. The most important measure of success will not be how long the last Type 22 remains afloat, but how effectively Brazil commissions, sustains, and deploys its new generation of surface combatants. If the Tamandare program maintains momentum and delivers operationally capable ships at scale, the legacy fleet will fade naturally into history without compromising readiness or strategic credibility. The last broadsword in Brazilian service, therefore, represents neither decline nor stagnation. It represents a Navy that understands the costs of transition and manages them deliberately. By closing the legacy chapter while safeguarding operational continuity, Brazil is laying the groundwork for a surface fleet that is not only modern, but resilient, sovereign, and fit for the strategic demands of the South Atlantic in the decades ahead. If you are interested in following how Brazil continues to reshape its naval power, connecting ships, industry, and strategy into a coherent whole, consider subscribing for future in-depth analysis. The true story lies not in the last legacy frigate, but in the fleet Brazil is building to replace it.